Hello, it's Steve Kalem. I'm with US Bank, and I hope you're having a great day. I want to share with you a very little known strategy that works tremendously well in a market like we have now, which is a rising interest rate market where rates have gone up high. There is a value to obviously having a lower interest rate. And so this is a great negotiation strategy, which results in a win-win because effectively the buyer is typically buying the home for less than what they were negotiating for, and the seller is netting out for typically more than what they were negotiating for. So let's take a look here. I'll share my screen. It's the easiest way to illustrate it. Here and click. Okay, it's a rising interest rate negotiation, and I've got four vertical columns. Let's take a look. Let's say the first column, let's look at the first two columns. First two columns represent either the list price or the impasse price for where you are in a negotiation. And that's the first column. And the second column is basically the offer by the buyer, or maybe the consideration for dropping your price if you're the seller and you're having a little activity, not enough activity on your home. So let's look at column one, list price of $1,850,000. And let's say a standard offer on that would be 20% down, and the loan amount, and then the monthly payment in DC with taxes and insurance, and then the cash typically to close to consummate that transaction in Washington, DC. You see on the bottom of that column one. Now, let's say you've got the impasse where the buyer wants to pay it. They're not going any higher than the 1.8 level, so they're offering $1,799,000. The seller won't drop that low, or you've got a situation where maybe the listing agent is pushing the seller to lower the price to $1,799,000. So what is that? That's a $51,000 drop from the list price. And go down the second column, and really, what does that do as far as attractiveness and the changing of dynamics for the buyer? An 80% loan, the interest rate, the monthly payment drops by $248 per month. That's nice, but it's not going to change your world. And the cash to close drops by what is that? $12,000, a little less, a little less than 12,000, 10,000, a little less than $12,000. So you're saving a little less than $12,000 cash to close and $248 a month. Okay. That's at a price of $1,799,000, where the seller would be dropping $51,000. As an alternative to that, if the seller held his guns and kept his price, the buyer accepted that, but offered special financing, below market financing on the property. And let's just go in column three and look at that. If the seller were to pay 2 points and a purchase price of $1,850,000, that brings the 80% loan again to $1,480,000, but the 2 points drops down the interest rate to 4.25. It drops it down 0.5%. Now, the 4.25 rate evolves and works out to be a monthly payment of almost $440 less per month than what they were trying to sell the house for. Okay, the seller is paying $29,000 towards closing costs, so the closing costs are the same in the creative financing situation as they are in the initial offering or that impasse point. So the seller is netting out $1,850,000 minus the $29,000 is $1,821,000. They've come off their purchase price, $29,000. They're selling for $1,821,000, which is $22,000 higher than what the buyer was offering in column two, $1,799,000, or what they were considering as a price drop. So there's a win for them. Let's look at the monthly payment, $89.90 in column three, and the cash to close is $42.54. So we already said that the buyer is saving $440 every month. But let's look at that a little bit deeper. The payment, $89.90, in the market where the interest rates are, equates to a payment on a house of $1,765,000. So in essence, they are not getting the house for the $1,799,000 that they're looking for, they were negotiating for. They're getting the house at $1,765,000. an additional $34,000 reduction in the price. How does that work? Well, let's look at it. At $1,765,000, the 80% loan is $1,412,000. And the current market interest rate, like in column 1 and 2, is 4 3/4. That payment all in, including taxes and insurance, is $89.90, the same as column 3, which is the buy down rate of 4 1/4. So you're paying the same amount if you're the buyer. And the difference is that you're coming out of pocket with an additional $20,000. That's the down payment on the higher purchase price. So you've got a win-win. There's more wins than that. Let's scroll down here and I'll show you. I've listed them here actually. Number 1, the buyer is acquiring the property for $1,765,000. That's effectively their price, $1,765,000 plus the extra out of pocket for the closing costs. But it's not that much extra because the buyer gets a tax deduction even though the seller paid the points. The definition of points is prepaid interest, and interest is still tax deductible up to $750,000. So the buyer would have a $15,000 gross tax deduction at their bracket. Typically state, federal, and put it all together is at least 42%. So they get a tax deduction of $5,700, of actually $6,000. If they're paying $12,000 more in cash after the tax deduction, they're actually going to pay $5,700 more in cash. So they split that cost in half, and they have a lower monthly payment of $192 per month than what they were negotiating for, the $89.90 compared to the $91.82. So they've killed it. They've made a great deal. They've saved money on the monthly, and they paid a little bit extra, but they got the house of their dreams. The seller also is doing great. He nets out $22,000 more than the price he was going to drop to, or then accepting the offer. So you got a win-win situation here. Let me stop the share and come back. I can customize this for any transaction when you're in the middle of a negotiation, if it might make sense, when you're about to just, both sides just can't go anymore, and they both want to consummate it, or in a situation where, as opposed to lowering your list price, you want to look at a special alternative and advertise below market rates. It's a great way to market a home. Okay, hopefully this is helpful. Appreciate you following through, and let me know if there's any questions. Take care. Bye-bye.